there are subtle differences between upstream Kubernetes and OpenShift. Uh, Maybe it is intentional because you had to harden the stack to make sure it meets certain enterprise grade capabilities. To be more precise, things like the local volumes and host based volumes, things like that, which are very common to Kubernetes upstream, are disabled or restricted in OpenShift. So a few engineers complain that there is a learning curve and a different set of resource requirements when it comes to OpenShift compared to upstream Kubernetes. What's your point of view on this?
Well, I want to separate out, let's say the early days from the more modern ones, right? Earliest days, there used to be, I think, a greater set of differences, primarily for the reason that, Johnny, you're mentioning, that there are certain sets of capabilities that we'd get enterprise requirements for that hadn't quite made it into community. And so a classic example of this is RBAC, role-based access control. Right? We implemented that earlier in OpenShift than it came to community, into community distribution. Doesn't mean that we won't take that work and put that all back into upstream, right? So the community can take advantage of it. But that's an extremely powerful security requirement that we want to make sure that, let's say, large financial service customers who are adopting the platform, can do without. We also had a little bit of a timing mismatch, right? So, for example, ingress versus routes, right? We developed that earlier than the community had. Obviously, as you well know, right, it takes longer for something to develop a community. You want to make sure that there's widespread acceptance of the idea, right? It's going through sets of reviews, right, before it actually gets written up and then accepted, as part of the main line. And so again, when that happened, right, over a period of time, we want to make sure that we're going off and supporting the Kubernetes API for that feature set. As we go forward, and Johnny, you know this as well as, if not better than me, right? That CNCF landscape has exploded. So on the one hand, I think that's fantastic, right? You look at that, what is that called? The CNCF map, and I don't know how many 100 projects that exist today on it, right? So is that about the great open source tradition, right? Let 1,000 flowers bloom, right? Let all of this great innovation come to the fore and customers adopt it. So I think that's a huge positive. On the other hand, now we are trying to get customers to understand, fast moving technologies. Which ones do they choose? Which ones have a long life? How do they go off and adopt it? How stable are they? Will they make sure that they are interoperable with the other choices that customers have made? Like all of this work, right? That's what a distribution has to do. So we want to make sure that we are conformant to the full set of Kubernetes APIs, that we pass a conformance test suite, right, with regard to ensuring that we work with the latest releases of the community. But at the same time, right, we're making some choices, just by the way, like every Kubernetes distribution is doing today, to ensure that we are also surrounding that core Kubernetes platform, right, with a set of capabilities. You talked earlier on, Johnny, about source to image, right? We thought that was really interesting, but at the same time, we also realized that you've got to have an opinion, but you can't hold the opinion so strongly that a customer can't make another choice. So, for example, we will support pipelines, right, and we'll give you our implementation, for CI/CD, right, based on Tekton. Having said that, we'll also ensure that we'll integrate with any other choice that you've made. Right. So being able to say, look, we'll provide some flexibility. We'll provide you actually a set of choices out of the box in our environment. We'll provide you an additional set of capabilities that we believe will be useful both for your platform engineering teams, but also for your development teams. But at the same time, also allowing for some other technologies to be interoperated with that is key. And so I think when you talk about that learning curve, right, that's sometimes I think what we run into, because we want to make sure we're offering a full application platform, right? Not just, a place for you to be able to deploy and run Kubernetes.
Absolutely. It's a balance that you got to strike between enterprise customers versus community. It's very hard to impress both. One needs more of compatibility and adherence to the standard API. The other one needs more of a hardened compliance stack. And striking a balance is something that you have carefully achieved over a period of time, because what customers and what the industry calls platform engineering today, I think we have seen that in OpenShift a few years before it actually became like the buzz. So I completely understand that you had to strike the balance between community and enterprise. So